Congresswoman, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I was talking before. I don't know what was happening.
That's okay. We got you now. Give me right off the bat a little synopsis of what you heard last night.
Well, I think we heard a very weak president of the United States, a very weak commander-in-chief, and someone who is very out of touch with hardworking American families who are struggling right now. You know, President Biden tried to talk about the economy that's strong. You talk to any family across this country, people are struggling. They're struggling with inflation. Home heating bills are up. Utility bills are up. I also was very frustrated on issues like the border. Joe Biden caused the border crisis with his executive actions, and there was no substantive solution. In fact, he had the audacity to say we should increase funding for Border Patrol. Of course we should. Republicans have been fighting for that for 2 years, but the Democrats have refused to put in a single dollar for border security with these funding bills that Joe Biden signed into law. And these were trillions of dollars. Think about that. $0 for border security. And he had the audacity to say he wants to increase funding. That's the Republican position who have been advocating for that. He has refused to take action. So it was frustrating. I mean, I've heard States of the Union by previous presidents as well, and it was a very weak address. You know, typically the president may see a slight bump in polls. I don't think we're going to see a significant bump after this address because the American people are just tired of the crises his policies have created.
Mm-hmm. Congresswoman, tell me what he missed last night. What didn't he talk about? I thought crime stood out, but tell me what you thought.
I think he missed crime as well. I invited Montgomery County Sheriff Jeff Smith as my guest to highlight the crime crisis, but really to thank our law enforcement officers for the incredible work that they've done. Joe Biden also missed an opportunity to really understand that it's House Republicans that now are in the majority of the Congress, and the American people sent a message. He missed an opportunity to talk about bringing our budget back towards balance and fiscal responsibility, and instead fear-mongered and lied, frankly, about the position as we go into these debt ceiling negotiations. He's going to have to negotiate with House Republicans as much as his White House and his advisors want to make him refuse. And we're going to keep pushing on behalf of the American people to address this debt crisis. $31 trillion, trillions racked up just in the last 2 years. So that's a looming issue that this White House has already mishandled. I also think he missed an opportunity. You know, one of my favorite parts of the State of the Union, no matter who the president is, are the guests. And while, you know, he introduced some of the guests, that really is an anchor of a lot of these speeches. And Joe Biden almost glossed over his guests and really didn't connect them to the audience, to the American people, as much as presidents in the past of both parties have. So, you know, it was a weak State of the Union address. And also his command of the room was very weak. I don't know if that came across to viewers on TV, but people were upset. They were very upset with the finger pointing, with the, you know, accusations against Republicans. And we're in divided government right now, Paul. And again, the American people sent a message electing Republicans to the majority in Congress. Joe Biden is going to have to work with us.
Elise, the last point you made is the one we were talking about earlier this morning, the command of the room. When with all that hooting and hollering, he seemed nervous at points, which I can understand. He's an 80-year-old man. But the hooting and the hollering that took place in there and the screaming from the audience, I couldn't agree with you more. I thought at points it was a little bit out of control. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, as I said, I've sat in States of the Union before, and he almost lost command of the room, which is really, you know, that's an uncertain feeling when you're sitting in the House chamber. But it was that level of frustration on, again, accusations against House Republicans and against the American people. Also frustrating when he tried to take credit for so many programs that were put into place by President Trump. And, you know, the media is not going to call him out from the mainstream, but it's really important for the American people to know that Joe Biden, sometimes when he does his victory lap, it's because of Republican policies that were put into place in the previous administration. So I don't really think there was an overarching message, to be honest with you, Paul. It seemed like more of a litany of, you know, here's a checklist of progressive policies I have to get through in this speech. And it's not going to be a memorable State of the Union for sure.
Elise Stefanik is with us. Congresswoman, tell me, I'm not there, but I am a little bit curious. There seems to be a feeling out here that that the president is losing party support. People in his own party are starting to waver away from him a little bit. Is that the sense you get on the floor? Is that the sense you get from his Democratic partners in Congress?
I get the sense that overwhelmingly Democrat elected officials know that Joe Biden is unfit to serve as president. Even the struggles to deliver an hour-long speech, I mean, that's a struggle for him. And it's a struggle. There were some sentences that were kind of meandering off, and Democrats see that as well. But he is how they funnel their progressive policies. The far left has really taken ownership over the direction of Joe Biden and the White House. And that's, they seem to double down on those failed policies. But polling across the country is interesting. Certainly the fact that less than 40%, even of registered Democrats,
right,
don't want Joe Biden to be the nominee. That's a stunning number for the President of the United States.
Well, that's another thing we're hearing outside. We're talking to Congresswoman Elise. That's another thing we're hearing up here that, in fact, I read it this morning a couple of times, that he's about to announce he's going to run for re-election. Do you expect him to do that?
I do expect him to run for re-election, and I expect that we will beat him in 2024 because the American people have seen quite clearly, how his policies have unraveled in just 2 years, and we're feeling the impact, whether it's the economic crisis, whether it's the border crisis continuing to rage, whether it's, the Chinese Communist Party able to fly a spy balloon across the United States, and just the weakness that was shown by the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, did not respond with strength, and we need to respond with strength when it's our chief adversary.